Namaskar and welcome to the 9th Spirit Talk being organized by Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. I'm the host and moderator Richa Anirudh और अब तक आप सब लोग जान चुके हैं Spirit Talk is all about saluting the spirit of community service and especially saluting the youngsters of our country who are doing wonderful work to bring about that change in the world that they want to see. So Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards recognizes and salutes these youngsters every year. They are awarded, they're recognized with Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. And this year, due to the difference in the whole situation, we've also organized these Spirit Talks where we talk to a very prominent citizen of this country whose work embodies the values of Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. And also in every Spirit Talk, we're joined by two of our student volunteers who've been a part of this journey in the past, who've been recognized and saluted and awarded for whatever they've been doing. तो मैं आज के अपने बहुत ही खास मेहमानों से आपका परिचय करा दूं. A very prominent citizen joining us for this Spirit Talk is Vijay Chaddha ji. He has over 45 years of professional experience across different fields. He served in the Indian Army for 20 years and then he was the CEO of Bharti Foundation, the philanthropic arm of Bharti Enterprises. He's also the chairman of managing committee at Modern School Barakhamba Road, one of the elite schools of India. And he's a part of various national committees in the area of education, skill development, and CSR. And the two student volunteers who will join us in the Spirit Talk today are Aranyo Ray. Aranyo has been helping marginalized farmers defend their crops. He has developed Nanoside and Soya Safe, two safe pesticides to help jute and soybean farmers defend their crops. Aranyo is from Kolkata, and we have with us Meher Kolhe, who's from Mumbai, and he has been enabling indoor navigation for the visually impaired. He has developed a real-time indoor navigation system for the visually impaired, an innovative mobile application that assists in indoor navigation by using localization algorithms, application, BLE beacons, and voice-over technology. I think he needs to explain all of this to us who do not understand that much of science. But first of all, let us welcome a very special guest for this Spirit Talk, Vijay Chaddha ji. Vijay ji, बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है आपका हमारे Spirit Talk में.
Thank you very much. It's my privilege to be here, Richa ji.
Vijay ji, मैं आपके बारे में पढ़ रही थी, and you've literally led 3 lives. In the armed forces, in the corporate sector. तो मैं चाहूंगी कि थोड़ा सा आप हमारे सारे viewers को अपने बारे में और अपने अभी तक के सफर के बारे में बताएं.
My God, I think that'll be extremely boring for all the viewers. But
no, I'm sure not.
But I must tell you that I've been singularly fortunate to actually have had these 3 lives. At the age of 16, to have joined the National Defense Academy, when in those days, I'm talking of 1968, when it was a career which was very well desired by youngsters, and to get selected was a great honor.
Yeah,
and I think it was a fantastic decision, because what you learned in the academy and what I learned in my 20 years of service in the army as an officer, till I took premature retirement as a colonel in 1992. So this journey was an amazing journey. I mean, in the sense that you wore the uniform with pride. You got to see the whole country and the world, right? You got to learn so much, and it really made you. I mean, I think it's sexist, but in those days you say it made a man out of you. I'm not sure if that is right today, but I think it makes you a complete human being. So it teaches you a lot of things, right? And to be able to be there, to be ready to give your life for your nation. It meant a lot to all of us. We had stars in our eyes, and we believed that we were there for the nation. So I think it was a great experience. So I mean, there were a lot of learnings in that. There was so much that you saw, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. But then one reached a stage in life where you had to make a choice. Whether I continued in the armed forces and had that as the only career, or made a transition. So I chose to move into the corporate world. Again, I was singularly fortunate. The year that I made the decision was 1992. And you all are all very young, but I think that's a time when 91, when India started what we call liberalization.
जी,
when
जी, जी.
the government where our last Prime Minister Manmohan Singh ji was the finance minister with Narasimha Rao, and that government came in, and we were in bad shape economically. But then some huge decisions were taken to
Take
really open up the economy.
economy, yeah.
Yeah, so it was really the right time to be in the corporate sector.
So you
So
wanted that exposure as well for
So I
yourself.
got that exposure, and it was amazing because the kind of people that I worked with, the kind of learnings that I could bring in from the armed forces, use here, and the kind of learnings that I got in the corporate world. And one thing is that which I want, the point that I want to make is that learning never stops. I'm now in my 70th year, and believe it or not, I'm still learning. And
That's so beautiful.
That's what keeps everyone going. That's what everyone should aspire to, because irrespective of how much you know, there are people who know so much. I mean, we are just minuscule in their comparison, but yet their learning never stops. And I think that's the principle and motto that I would tell all the youngsters, that learning is never enough, and you should always be open to that. The corporate world gave me a lot of different things. A lot of things were similar in terms of the value system, which I believe. And a lot of people said that you can't move out. You come from the army, you have a strong value system, you people do no wrong, you're honest. Outside, you'll not be able to survive. And I must share that again with you, Richa ji, and with all our viewers, and especially the youngsters. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. There are good people everywhere. There are honest people everywhere. Honesty and integrity always pays. You can live by your principles. Right? People will respect you for that. You might have a little bit of a difficulty, wherever you may be, right? But it's not true that A environment is healthier or more honest than a B environment.
All kinds of people everywhere, yeah.
Absolutely, Richa ji. So, that has been one of the biggest learnings. And then, of course, the thing is that, the whole story changes. Like you said, I'm Vijay Chadda. I was Colonel Vijay Chadda. When I came out, I took a conscious decision that I will not use my rank. I was just 40 years old. I had all my hair black, and I was reasonably fit and young. And I said, let me not get typecast. So from being called sir by so many people to youngsters, management trainees calling you Vijay, it was another great experience. You became one of a team. Of course, you were a strong team in the army also. But then cut across layers. You've learned what actually a flat organization meant, how working together, how learning from peers and colleagues meant, how learning from the younger people meant. These bright young MBAs who would come as management trainees, I mean, there was so much that you could learn from them. That, along with everything else, also, fulfill the desire in terms of, your economic, your monetary needs. I think, the kind of salaries that you got in the corporate world and changed dramatically. So money also became not an issue. That also gave me time to think and reflect. And a couple of incidents happened in my life, which suddenly made me wonder as to, what am I doing? I mean, I'm sure that I can contribute much more than what I've been doing so far. I was living life only for myself. I would be doing little things here and there, but it was always my career.
Yeah. Like most of us do, yeah.
My success. And Richa ji, actually, the turning point in my corporate career came, in a little incident in Hyderabad. This was in the year 1997, when we were in a large travel industry convention. And in that convention, one fine evening, suddenly people came looking for me and said, "Where are you? Where are you, sir? You just won a lucky draw." I said, "What the hell? I've never been lucky." And I was taken there to the podium, and to suddenly announce that I'd won an air-conditioned Maruti car. In those days, it was a fancy car, in a lucky draw. I was completely taken aback, delighted, absolutely, accepted the award. And when we came home, and we were very delighted because it was going to be our third car, and our elder daughter was just ready to go to college, and she wanted a car to drive to college. And we said, well, here it is, God's gift, it's come to us. Then when the family sat down and we started talking about it, my daughter, wife, they all said, this is a gift to us, and and do we actually need a third car? That's when we thought, "Okay, why can't we do something better with this car? And can we actually look at donating this?" So we spoke to the organizers and said, "Is there any way that we can get money in lieu of the car?" They were very happy to do that. And then we said, "This is great. So we can donate this money to make a difference to people's lives." And when we sat around thinking about where can we give this money, and then we found that there were so many areas where a little bit of money can make a difference and change people's lives. And I think that was a big lesson. Looking at it now in retrospect as to how my life changed completely after that. And I believe that, all of us can actually start doing things to make a difference in people's lives. And I'm so glad that youngsters today, you spoke about these two young gentlemen who are with us on the show. And my experience with youngsters, because Bharti Foundation, 11 years, hundreds of schools, meeting so many young kids all across the country. It just puts you in a different orbit. Meeting these young people, seeing their ideas, I think they are fantastic. I think the future of our nation is safe with all the youngsters that we have, and I'm sure that they can make a lot of difference. So I decided at that time that I said, if I can do something to really benefit youngsters, and the greatest need was education, and those children who actually didn't have access. All of us are, most of us who are here watching this are fortunate that, and I call it the lottery of birth. We're born in the right home, so we could go to the right school, and we got the right education.
But so many of them are not so privileged. So many amongst us around us.
So they have all the ability, they have the talent, they have the intellect, but because they don't have access to education, why should they be denied their right? And why should the world be denied them? Look at the contribution that they would make to the world. It's not only about they being denied.
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent out there.
Amazing. Yeah. So then I said, underprivileged.
So after the corporate life started the philanthropic life.
Yeah, so it was far from being a philanthropist. A philanthropist is, there are big people in this world who've given away the entire fortune. And it's not about...
I disagree, sir. I disagree. I think if the intention is pure, you're as philanthropic as anyone else.
I agree with Raji, but then it's a question of how much you give. That car which I gave, under no circumstances, classifies as philanthropy, because I didn't need it. There are people who've given away something, I have only one meal, but I give that meal away. There are people who do that, and they're not rich people. They are ordinary people who give away so much, so I always admire them. So, I don't give myself any points there. So I think I can do much more, and God willing, will continue to do. But, the point is, we can all make a difference. But again, like I said, fortune, fortune smiled on me because through whatever, the corporate network, the headhunters, I met Mr. Sunil Mittal, the chairman of Bharti Enterprises, because I always had the desire to work in education for underprivileged children. And my dream was I will open a small school, maybe start in my garage and educate children for free. And here was Sunil Mittal talking to me that, Vijay, this is my dream. I'm going to set up 1,000 schools in villages for poor children, free education, quality education, and I need someone to come and head the foundation. We'll build those schools and we'll make sure there's quality education. And he says, I'm sorry, but this fancy corporate salary, I can't pay you that. You have to make a huge salary cut and come and join me. I said, sir, Sunil, I would have done this work for free by paying me a salary and doing me a good. Doesn't matter how much. Wow, that's how my journey with Bharti Foundation started. That's again destiny. It's God's grace. I consider myself blessed, right? And I do believe, again, another lesson for children, for whoever is listening to it. If we have the desire, we want to do something, the opportunities will come our way. I'm a firm believer in that. Right? Do good, be good, try and make a difference to people's lives, and you'll get enough and more opportunities to actually do that at a much larger scale. So imagine where one thought of a few dozen children, and suddenly you could impact thousands, hundreds of thousands of children. I mean, what a great opportunity it was, and what a great learning.
And sir, I think whatever you've said, this is just the right moment to, welcome both our student volunteers also into this Spirit Talk. We have with us Meher Kolhe, who is from Mumbai and who has developed a real-time indoor navigation system for the visually impaired. Meher will tell us more about his work. And we also have with us Aranyo Ray, who's helping marginalized farmers defend their crops. He has developed Nanoside and Soya Safe, two safe pesticides to help jute and soybean farmers defend their crops. Imagine at this very young age. So let's welcome Aranyo and Meher into the Spirit Talk as well.
And then Ananyu, Meher, first of all, let me salute both of you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I'm inspired by you, and I'm so delighted to hear that youngsters like you are actually setting out to make a difference at this young age. May God give you more power.
I think let's hear more about their work. Exactly, क्या है इनका काम? क्या किया है? So, Aranyo, we can start with you.
Yes. So, hi everyone. I'm Aranyo Ray, and I'm in class 12 right now. And as ma'am said, I'm from Kolkata. So, when I was very young, I was exposed to the life of farmers because my grandfather himself is a jute farmer. And when I saw their problems, especially with regards to pesticide overuse, I was really concerned. And till then, I was really young, so I couldn't, dream of doing anything. But in grade 9, I read about like how many farmers die in our country every year from pesticide overuse, and also the huge environmental impact pesticides have. And that is when I decided that I wanted to do something to change this. And like Vijay sir said, when you want to do something, the opportunity comes your way. And a similar thing happened in my case was that I could, tie up with a scientist at the Central Research Institute of Jute. And over there, with his help, I developed Nanoside, which is a nanopesticide for jute farmers. And till date, about 1,000 jute farmers have used this pesticide through various field studies. And this has obviously vastly improved their livelihood and also has taught me a lot of things regarding community service and also regarding, life itself. And I was so inspired by the work that Nanoside had and the impact that it had on so many lives that I was determined to make a second pesticide known as Soya Safe. And with that, I could help around 300 soybean farmers. And I'm excited to, help many more.
अरण्य आप थोड़ा सा और elaborate कर सकते हो कि जैसे आपने कहा a lot of our viewers including me would not know किस तरह का नुकसान you said there's so much of harm because of those pesticides. So first two things came into my mind. What is the kind of harm that they have to face because of this, and what was the kind of chemical change or whatever आपने जो अपना pesticide बनाया उसमें आपने क्या change किया so that they become safe for the farmers? Two things.
So while farmers use traditional pesticides, they often use it in a large quantity because they often have this misbelief that if you use it a lot, then your crops will be saved. But actually that backfires, and often farmers fall sick when they like inhale the noxious fumes, and the environment also gets, harmed because of the chemical pollution that happens. So when I was developing Nanoside, I had to keep in mind that I wanted to, both save the farmer as well as save the environment. And what nanoparticles do is they operate at a nanoscale. So it is required in very low concentration, like 100 times less compared to traditional pesticides. So it's also that makes it very cheap and economical for the marginalized farmers that I work with. And since it's used in a very low concentration, it is also very safe, compared to traditional pesticides.
Okay. Meher, your turn now to tell us about your work.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate Aranyo on the wonderful work he's done. Secondly, I would like to say, Vijay sir, your story was really inspiring. And as a kid, I wanted to go to the military and, I had all these dreams. So it's really exciting to hear about that from somebody. I'm Meher. I'm currently in first year of university. I got into University of California, Berkeley, but I cannot go there. So I'm here for a year. As for what I did, when I was in the 10th grade, I was really into online courses in my summer when I had a lot of free time. And there were a couple of technologies that I got really into. There's Internet of Things, machine learning, all the buzzwords. And my sister and my father are both engineers. So they sort of, helped me get into it. And so the thing is, and one of the biggest influences in my life I live right across from IIT Bombay. I mean, right
Oh,
across the street. So, I've seen these students, I've been on campus, I know certain professors as well. And just the whole atmosphere is so magnetic. It really had a big influence on me. And so in my 11th and 12th grade, I sort of decided to, reach out to them, ask them if there's anything I can work on, even the smallest things. And surprisingly, a lot of them reached out, a lot of them had requirements for students to help them. And so the visually impaired project was actually from a professor in Pune. Her name's Vinaya Gohkar, and she actually reached out to me, and she's like, "We have this project, and we could use your skill set on this project." And so that's when it started, and we developed this application where, um, using smartphones and certain sensors and algorithms that we developed, um, visually impaired people can navigate in basically any space, be it train stations, be it uh, airports, be it their schools, their homes, anything. And so as we developed it, we reached out to certain blind schools across Mumbai and Pune, where we could, sort of have dry runs and, under safe conditions, have the students in these schools or visually impaired people sort of, try it out and see if it actually helps them. And so we were contacted by this um, homecome school for visually impaired girls in Mumbai. It's called Kumudben Dwarkadas Home for Women, and that's where we started all our trials, and we had these girls sort of try out what we were building, and we had really really positive results, because before this they were just they were using their hands and their senses and whatever they had sort of been taught to do over the years, and this was much safer for them. It was much better. And I mean, personally, I could sort of I mean, this sort of unrelated, but as Aranyo said, there's a motivation point somewhere along the process where you're like, I want to commit to this, I want to continue this, I want to do more of this. And for me, it was just looking at the girls, and I mean, these are girls that have been visually impaired for their entire lives, and just the purity, it's just they radiated purity, their eyes, their smiles, their actions. And I mean, it just, I don't know, turn something in me. I'm like, there's a lot of these people. As Sir said, there's a lot of underprivileged people. There's a lot of people with difficulty. And if my forte is technology, then I can definitely do something to help them.
absolutely.
But we had again two questions. How does
Yeah.
this mobile application, how does this app work really?
Right,
And then,
right,
as you said, underprivileged, a lot of people would not be able to afford a smartphone, right?
right,
So
right.
how do you think probably in future we make technology, accessible to
Mhm.
girls, like girls or anyone who's visually impaired and who can't afford to buy a smartphone with an app? How do
Right,
you
right.
reach them?
So, this was actually the main point of the talks we had with the principal of that blind school, and so the thing we learned was that many major smartphone companies have developed a special sort of version for visually impaired people. And so, for example, Samsung, they have a special sort of version for visually impaired people. And what these blind schools do, I mean, they've started to do in the last few years, is that whatever donations they get, whatever monetary donations they get, or whatever requests they get, they
Mm.
request the people donating, or through the money they get, to channel them into smartphones, because they can completely transform the lives of these girls. And
Mhm.
that was so surprising, because the school we went to, everybody had smartphones. All the blind girls had smartphones, and they were very comfortable with it. They were very very
Wow.
comfortable with it. So that was a real plus point for us. As to how it works, um, so as I said, these girls are already comfortable with their phones, right? And there's these sort of sensors called BLE beacons, and you sort of place them around, whatever room or place or halls or stairs, and they communicate with the phone. And it's basically Internet of Things technology. It's called IoT technology.
My
And
God.
sorry.
I'm just saying, my God, that's too intelligent for me.
IoT,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So actually, the thing was that um, Professor Gohokar, with whom I collaborated, so she exposed me to a lot of research papers abroad who had actually done this before, but they hadn't done it in this particular way. So we sort of, tried different things, mix, match stuff, developed our own stuff, and that's sort of how this came to fruition.
Wow. Vijay ji,
Yes.
I was not so good with science as these two boys are. Oh my God. That's why I said, my physics was too bad. Biology, chemistry was still okay. But, we talk of intelligent kids who are very good with studies, but, they keep thinking of their career throughout. Ye karna, ye exam dena. You're also a part of a school, modern school, Barakhamba Road, as a, in the governing board. How important you think it is for all the schools across the country, or I think across the globe, to inculcate the values of community service? Because these two boys, I mean, there could be many more students more intelligent than them,
Definitely.
better in physics, chemistry, biology, whatever. But these two decided to put their knowledge into use for
Absolutely.
community service.
Yeah.
So you think, how strongly do you feel that this should be a part of something that the school does, as values to the children?
Thank you for the question. I think I'll just come to that, but also I'll just take a minute to complete the life's journey to what I'm doing now. Since Aranyo spoke about environment, like I said, 2019 or 2019, I decided that it's time for me to finally retire and go up and relax in the hills or along the seaside, depending on the weather in this terrible NCR. So. But that retirement was short-lived because, I, like Sunil, I had opportunity to meet another wonderful, I call him a youngster, he's barely 50, a gentleman called Ashish Dhawan, who was a philanthropist in the true sense, right? And who was on a board in Bharti Foundation when I was the CEO. That's where I met him. Bright guy, ran a private equity company called Chris Capital, made big money. He's also the founder of Ashoka University. The youngsters would have heard of Ashoka University. So plus, Ashish set up many other foundations in education, other areas. So he said, Vijay, don't run away anywhere. Before you go to the hills, come and talk to me. And we spoke about, he told me what is happening around air pollution and how badly some work is needed there. So then we set up this foundation called Air Pollution Action Group in 2019, July. And since then, we've been working along with various state governments in the Indo-Gangetic Plain to actually help governments implement the National Clean Air Program and have a structured plan to bring down the levels of air pollution. It can't happen overnight, but there are so many things which can be done, need to be done by government, need to be done by authorities, but a lot of things that we as individuals can do. And that's where...
Yeah, but there are so many factors behind this here that,
those factors need to be addressed. There is regulation required, legislation required. There are, alternatives required when you talk about farmers as to, how can we make them stop burning, right? Why are they burning? Stuff like that. I mean, it's very, very complex. But yeah, there are some simple solutions which are not happening because people are not sensitive or people don't want to do anything about it. But we leave that there. So we're coming on to your question about modern school, etc. And, since it's thanks to Pramerica that we are here, I must tell you that, for community service is so important. And it really doesn't matter whether you're in an elite school or anywhere. When I was in Bharti Foundation, we started to get our children who are in villages, first generation learners, right, to start participating in the Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards, as well as the Design for Change contest, which is also run by a lady in Ahmedabad, where their specific community projects are put up for awards, etc. And that's when we found that how little children, wherever they may be, how perceptive they are, and what kind of solutions they come out with, and how impactful and effective this is. We had children from our schools in Rajasthan out in the deserts outside Jodhpur, running campaigns against child marriage, which was rampant there, and actually getting panchayats to sign resolutions that in their village there'll be no more child marriage. We had children in villages in Rajasthan and Haryana running campaigns for widow empowerment because their mothers were widow. And then getting panchayats to pass resolutions that widows will be allowed to come out and join festivities and celebrations and also given employment. One of these young girls in a village in Nimrana, she won the gold medal in Pramerica because of her campaign. So
I remember in Pramerica, we also had an entry from Rajasthan where children were into, planting trees.
Oh yeah. I mean, greening, etc. Unbelievable what they do. The kind of things, traffic management, because children crossing the road would be subject to road accidents, drug abuse. If we can, if children get involved, they are the real change agents. So I mean, it's really stupid not to expect them to actually participate in that. There is so much of need to actually change things. There's so much of need to make a difference.
Yeah, but sir, I'll interrupt you here. All throughout the Spirit Talk and with all these student volunteers, मैं जिससे भी पूछती हूँ ना, what inspired you to do this here? So I think 90% student volunteers have said, came from my parents, came from my family. My dadi used to do this. My mother used to do. My parents, I don't know how I should put it, but none of them said that I learned this in school. And because you're a part of an education system, that's why I, kept this question for you. Ki kitna zaruri hai? Even the schools should give that value to children.
So let me tell you about. I'm involved in modern school, Barakamba Road. Right, they have something called the Interact Club. Right, and I think Pramerica knows it very well. Rajniji knows them very well. The Interact Club actually gets in all these kids who come, and their only focus is social service. So one is that the school must have. Every school must have this, and I know of many schools which have it. So I think it's not actually true. And today, like because of our schools in the villages and the government schools that we work with, we work with over 1,000 government schools in Bharti Foundation. I still say we because I'm still on the board, and we have a great team there. And the government schools have started participating in all these competitions like Pramerica and Design for Change, and the children are imbibing those values. So it has to be institutionalized. So I think while we learn a lot at home, I think there is no dispute. It used to be in our curriculum when we were in school. We had a subject called moral science, right? Some schools have something equivalent.
Now they don't have it, I think.
Yeah, but they say that it's already included in our curriculum. It's part of social studies or whatever, and every lesson can actually bring about a social sort of lesson for everyone also. So there are various means to actually integrate it in the curriculum, but I think there is no debate over it. It has to be institutionalized. The children must learn as much, if not more, at school than what they learn at home. I mean, and there are many children who actually may not get the opportunity to learn at home also, because when we talk of children in underprivileged areas where mother and father are both daily wage earners, I think life is tough. Especially in our country, for most of the children, life is tough. And I think for a lot of them, school is a safe haven. And school is great learning. And I think every school, irrespective of how small and wherever it is, actually this thing has to be imbibed in the school.
Should make it a part of their probably, curriculum or daily activity or something. Aranyu and Mehar, Aranyu and Mehar, have you seen a lot of your friends getting involved in community service in some way or the other? Do you want to share some stories about your friends as well? Aranyu?
Yeah, so for me, actually, I did not find a lot of them, actually taking the step. A lot of them wanted to, but the huge barrier is usually from teachers and parents who are like, you must focus on your studies and like academics is really important. But when I started Nanosite, I obviously needed a team, because without a team, you cannot expect to reach to so many farmers and touch so many lives. So that is when I reached out to a couple of friends, and they were really interested to join me. And like, I think around 6 to 7 of them ultimately like helped me in a lot of ways, along with volunteering, spending their time and resources to help me out and the project. So I think there are a lot of barriers, but yes, students do. A lot of my friends and like classmates have this innate desire to help society in some way or the other.
Yeah, so probably a lot of children want to do it, but as Aranyu said, itne pressures hain, padhai, boards, your admission into college, and this, that. sometimes वो इच्छा कहीं ना कहीं दबी रह जाती है. Meher, what about your experience with?
Definitely. I mean, I completely agree with what Aranyo said. And yeah, I mean, I'm in Mumbai and I was in ICSC, and it's so competitive. Like just the school studies that parents, teachers, as Aranyo said, they usually tell children to just focus on the studies and not much more. Um, I feel, I mean, I'm not anybody to suggest a solution, but I guess what we can do.
You must.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
very important. Yes.
So, I mean, what I feel is like there should be sort of awareness campaigns in school on how to sort of bridge both, because there's definitely careers in philanthropy, right? As sir's been saying, there's so many careers in philanthropy. I have a friend who teaches underprivileged student Hindi and English on the weekends, and there's definitely stuff you can do in your free time as well. So I feel awareness is a big part of it, and it's very lacking. I mean, I'm in Hirandani, and like my school's one of the top schools in Mumbai, I guess, but we have none of it. And there's maybe 1 hour in a year, and it's irrelevant in the larger context. So awareness, exposure, I feel. Pramerica, I mean, I came to Pramerica and I was blown away by everybody over there, and it was such a fantastic experience. And I feel like this spirit talk, this stuff really helps. It really helps.
Without doubt. Yeah. I think, Richaji, there's two things that I want to also leave
Yes,
behind. One is, of course, what everyone knows, what our great father of the nation said, that be the change that you want to see in this world.
Right.
So all of us, it is our duty to actually be the change, because we just can't trip. The other around this is when we're talking about not having time, having difficulties, and a lot of us say, I want to do this, but the government doesn't permit it. People are so bad, this, that. So again, another very dear friend of mine, who's a fantastic guy, he told me this. He says, Vijay, this is what I use, the maxim. I will not allow what is not in my control. I will not allow what is not in my control prevent me from doing what is in my control.
What is in my control? Wow.
Yeah. So that's why I said, now whenever I speak, I say, look at our environment, look at what we can do. I mean, don't worry about, I want to do this, but I don't have the time to do this. But what do you have the time to do? Let's not do this. Let's do something. So nothing is small. Like, no donation is small. It's a question of how you give, how well you give, and how much of yourself you give along with that. Similarly, no work that you do, in terms of improving lives is small. So we carry on doing it. Tomorrow it will build up, but that should not stop you from starting. So that's the lesson that I want to leave behind.
That's the quote. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So बहुत सारे लोग सोचते हैं कि एक दिन ऐसा होगा. When we will earn this much money, then I will start donating.
That's what I always regret. I could have started much earlier, like I admitted. I said, structured way like these bright youngsters are doing. That I will start making a difference from now. Why should I wait? Till I have
Aranya and Meher, you've started early. All you student volunteers who've been a part of this journey of Pramerica have started earlier. लेकिन मैं सबसे एक सवाल पूछती हूँ कि in this rat race called life, a lot of us leave this behind, leave our good work behind. कि बाद में फिर जैसे सर ने कहा corporate life में अगर आ जाओगे तो कहीं this good intention or this community service, will this stop, Aranya? Or will you keep developing some things to help your farmers or the lesser privileged?
Yes, so like this actually reminds me of like the science fairs which I was part of. So actually my whole thing with innovation and developing pesticides started due to science fairs. And what I would notice at a lot of these fairs where like people leave their projects behind after they're done with the fair. So that is something that I did not want to do, and that is when I decided to continue. But in the long term, I do find like I'll have more responsibilities when I enter college or like have a job. But definitely there will be something in the back of my head, telling me to contribute to farmers, not only farmers, but also the place where I came from. And yeah, so I think I'll be involved with community service in some way or the other. Maybe not as much as I am right now, But yeah, there will be something that will push me to, give more and more back to society.
You won't leave this behind, right?
No.
I'm glad to hear that.
Meher?
I mean, yeah, like as both of you were saying, they aren't separate things. I mean, it's sort of a way of life, right? And I think, as kids, I mean, I myself got really confused about this. There's grades and then there's this, and how do you sort of keep them separate or together? And I feel like we need positive examples. And I like personally, and for a lot of people my age, I mean, Elon Musk is such a big example. And I mean, look at him. He made a fortune out of electric cars. I mean, it's charity in a way, right? Because it's helping the environment, but he's also making a career and money out of it. So I mean, it's not that or this. I feel it can be a way of life. And as I said before, there's a lot of careers in which you can do both of them together. And I mean, at Berkeley, there's so much that I'm getting exposed to, and there's so many opportunities for this, sort of combining both of those things together and making a career out of it. It's unconventional, but it's possible. So
Yeah.
I
So
guess
you
that
plan to put your technological knowledge into use to help the people who are in need.
definitely,
Yeah.
and make a living out of it. I think that's possible.
Yeah, and just
What's
to
your
add to
app
that,
called, Meher? One
Sorry,
second, sir. What's your app called?
mine.
Yeah.
It's not an app. It's a
Okay.
technology in the sense that I mean, we haven't published it as of yet. We are still improving upon the trials
Because
that
I
we
was
did.
innovative mobile application, so I thought it's a mobile app
Yeah, it's slightly
in a way.
complicated, but yeah.
okay, I think a lot of things. Yeah. So,
Sir,
so
आप कुछ कह रहे
we were just talking about, how do you find time in your careers and all. So I just wanted to, again, something for the youngsters today. There are people like, Bill Gates, Azim Premji, Ashish, Sunil, people that I work with. I mean, there are many more, who made their money and given a large portion of that for philanthropy and are actively involved and engaged in also, making things happen. Like Bill Gates spends a lot of time in his foundation, he and his wife, even Ashish does, and there are many people across the world. Some people, decide to give away their wealth and they give it to the right people to say that, I don't have time, but my wealth goes there. But today, for youngsters, I mean, there are also careers in the social and development sector.
Right.
Very bright people today are transiting from the corporate world and coming and working here, either making this a full-time career or spending a few years here and then going back to corporate.
And going back,
That's another way of, you're
and yeah,
earning
but probably they have the money also, not probably as good as corporate, but they have money for a decent living and satisfaction.
Yeah. I mean, you may not get the corporate salaries, but you get good salaries today. Your professionals are required in this sector. Like even the team that I work with today, youngsters, there are people who are from Columbia, IIT, IIMs, who have given up their corporate work careers in fancy multinationals and are coming to work here and are enjoying it. I don't know how long they'll stay. They might stay here long, or they might go on to the next phase of their career. But opportunities are there where you can get the privilege of both.
In fact, sir, this I see as a positive change in this generation compared to mine or before us.
Absolutely.
More and more youngsters are coming forward for community service. We hear of people giving up good job, high paid salaries and all of that, and just getting into community service. वो हमारे time से मुझे लग रहा है बढ़ गया, which is a very positive change.
Great thing, yeah, it's a great thing, yes.
चलिए, Aranyu and Meher did talk about it a little bit, but before we end the chat, we surely would like to hear about your journey, your experience with Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. Aranyu?
So, like, when I was elected a silver finalist, I could not believe myself. And finally, when I got the National Honorary Award, it was a huge moment for me personally. And also, like, it gave me a lot of validation. It gave my work a lot of credibility. And after that, like, I have been able to, secure more deals with 2 more factories to set up a supply chain so that this, pesticide, it does not end here, but it keeps getting produced every year from now on. So Pramerica has definitely helped in that way. And I felt like this recognition also showed me like, community service is something that does not end here. And once you get into it, once you're seeing that how you can impact lives and help them lead a sustainable livelihood, it is something that you will keep doing, and it will something that you won't leave behind.
Meher?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just add this, that it was the day before my 12th board started. So I was almost not going to go for the ceremony. And I mean, thank God I did, because I met such incredible people like Aranyo and so many others. And I've stayed in touch with a few of them. And I was I was the oldest over there, because everybody was in 10th or 11th and I was in the 12th grade. So, all of them are, which college should I apply to and all this. So, I've stayed in touch with a few of them, and it's been great. It's been great knowing that there are, so many
There's
good
so many
people.
youngsters.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
many young people doing this, and hats off
And
to
well-intentioned youngsters.
Very
That's
intentional, definitely.
beauty. So I want to tell all of you also to please spread the word across. और जितने भी लोग हमारी ये spirit chat सुन रहे हैं, देख रहे हैं, please आप सबसे भी request है, इस साल की Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards की entries की last date 31st January है. So if you yourself are a youngster who's involved in community service, या आप किसी भी ऐसे youngster को जानते हैं, किसी student को जानते हैं जो कुछ भी काम, एज सर सेड कि कोई भी काम छोटा नहीं होता, कम्युनिटी सर्विस का हर काम बहुत बड़ा होता है, तो किसी भी तरह से कम्युनिटी सर्विस में इन्वॉल्व हैं तो प्लीज उनको बोलिए www.spiritofcommunityindia.com पर जाकर अपनी एप्लीकेशन सबमिट करें। और हर साल प्रेमेरिका स्पिरिट ऑफ कम्युनिटी अवार्ड्स के विनर्स, 2 विनर्स को अमेरिका जाने का मौका मिलता था, वो इस साल नहीं मिल पाएगा, लेकिन 2 विनर्स को 3.5 लाख रुपए की स्कॉलरशिप और बहुत सारे सर्टिफिकेट्स, मेडल्स, ट्रॉफीज एंड above all, a lot of inspiration and motivation and recognition. So that's all that you get when you apply or win the Pramerica Spirit of Community Award. So please, we request you to ask any youngster who you know is involved in community service to please apply for these awards. So time to end the spirit chat here, but I really had a lovely time with all 3 of you. Vijay ji, your story is very, very motivating. Thank you so much. And keep inspiring and keep working for the lesser privileged students all across the country. Thank you so much for doing such wonderful work.
Thank you. My privilege and pleasure to be with all of you, and so wonderful to meet these young change agents, and we need more and more of them. They're never enough, and like I said, everyone can be a change agent. Right? Well, thank you so much, Richa ji, and all the very best. God bless you all. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir. And Aranyo, Meher, thank you so much. And we wish you all the best for your future work and innovations and technologies. My God, I'm really impressed by your knowledge and your efforts. So keep doing your bit for community service. As we said, rat race mein bhool mat jana. So all our best wishes to both of you. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.